Admiral Jake Harrison looked out at the blue planet Earth through the main window of his ship. His fleet of 200 massive vessels hung in space around the small world. The Galactic Council had sent him here with one simple mission: make the humans surrender or destroy them completely. Jake had fought in many wars across the galaxy. He had seen planets burn and entire species disappear. Earth would be easy, he thought. The humans had only one small space station and maybe 50 ships total. Their technology looked like toys compared to what the galaxy could build. Captain Lisa Morgan sat in her command chair on Earth's orbital defense platform. She watched the alien ships arrive through her monitors. Her hands stayed calm on the controls even though her heart was beating fast. She had been waiting for this day her whole life. Every human in the secret program had been waiting. Lisa pressed a small blue button on her chair. Deep under the Pacific Ocean, a message traveled through hidden cables. The message was simple but important. The aliens had finally come. It was time to wake up the sleeping giant that lived beneath Earth's waters. Dr. Ryan Cooper received the message 3 miles under the ocean floor. He stood in a control room that was bigger than most cities. Around him, thousands of people worked at computers and control panels. They had all been born down here in the deep ocean cities. Their grandparents had been born here too. Ryan looked at the big screen that showed the alien ships above. He smiled and turned to his team. Today, they would show the galaxy what humans could really do. He pressed his hand against a glass panel. The panel glowed green and started the awakening process. All across Earth's oceans, things began to move. In the deepest parts of the Pacific, huge machines started to hum with power. In the Atlantic Ocean, massive doors opened in the sea floor. Under the Arctic ice, ancient systems came online after waiting for decades. Captain Lisa Morgan opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. She spoke in a calm voice that gave no hint of what was coming. She told Admiral Jake Harrison that Earth would consider their demands. She asked for 24 hours to prepare an answer. Jake Harrison agreed to wait. He thought the humans were scared and trying to buy time. He did not know that humans had been preparing for this moment for over 100 years. He did not know about the cities under the oceans or the millions of people who lived there. The first alien probe had crashed on Earth in 1924. A farmer in Kansas found the strange metal object in his field. The government took it away and told everyone it was just a weather balloon. But smart people studied the alien technology in secret. They learned how it worked and built better versions. By 1950, humans had built their first underwater city. They called it New Atlantis and hid it in the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean. They took the smartest people from every country and brought them to live underwater. These people had one job: build a fleet that could protect Earth from aliens. The DAS, underwater cities, grew bigger every year. They built more cities under every ocean. They had farms that grew food from seaweed. They had factories that made ships and weapons. They had schools that taught children how to fight in space. All of this stayed hidden from the people who lived on the surface. Dr. Ryan Cooper walked through the halls of New Atlantis as the awakening process continued. The city was huge, with tall buildings and wide streets, but instead of sky above, there was metal and glass holding back the ocean water. Millions of people lived here and in the other underwater cities around the world. The humans had learned from studying crashed alien ships for decades. They took alien technology and made it better. They built ships that were faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen. They created weapons that could cut through the strongest alien armor. They developed shields that could stop any attack. Admiral Jake Harrison had no idea what was happening below his fleet. His sensors could not see through the deep ocean water. The humans had built special materials that blocked all scanning attempts. To the aliens, Earth looked like a weak planet with primitive technology. Captain Lisa Morgan received reports from all the underwater cities. Everything was ready. The million-ship fleet was waking up after sleeping in the ocean depths. Soon, the galaxy would learn the truth about humanity. The ocean water around Admiral Jake Harrison's fleet began to move in strange ways. Small bubbles rose to the surface, but he did not notice them. His attention was focused on Earth's tiny orbital station and the few human ships that looked so weak compared to his mighty fleet. 24 hours was almost over. Soon, Admiral Jake Harrison would demand an answer from the humans. He expected them to surrender without a fight. He had no idea that the humans had already given their answer. They had been preparing it for 100 years, and it was rising from the depths of Earth's oceans right beneath his feet. Commander Amy Foster stood on the bridge of her ship 3 miles below the ocean surface. Her vessel was one of thousands waiting in the underwater hangars. The ship was sleek and black, with curves that cut through water and space equally well. Amy had trained her whole life to command this moment. The alien fleet above had no idea what was directly beneath them. Admiral Jake Harrison thought he was looking at a defeated planet. Amy smiled as she watched her screens show the alien ships in their proud formations. They had positioned themselves just like the war books said they would. General Ben Sullivan sat in the main command center of New Atlantis. Giant screens showed him every alien ship in the fleet above. His underwater cities had been tracking these ships since they entered the solar system 3 days ago. Ben knew exactly how many weapons each ship carried and where their weak spots were located. Ben activated the communication system that connected all the underwater cities. His voice traveled through cables on the ocean floor to bases under every major body of water on Earth. In the Mediterranean Sea, commanders listened. Under the Indian Ocean, captains prepared their crews. Beneath the Arctic ice admirals made final checks on their weapons. The humans had spent decades learning how alien technology worked. They captured crashed ships and studied every piece of metal and wire. But they did not just copy what they found. Human engineers made everything better. They built ships that were faster and stronger than anything the galaxy had ever created. Colonel Nancy Wright commanded the surface operations from a ship that looked like a normal research vessel. To anyone watching from space, it appeared to be studying whale movements. In reality, it was the control center for the largest military operation in human history. Nancy's job was to coordinate the moment when the hidden fleet would reveal itself. The oceans around Earth held more than just ships. Entire cities existed in the deep water. New Atlantis was the largest with 50 million people, but there were dozens of others. Under the Mariana Trench lay New Geneva, where the best scientists worked. Beneath the North Atlantic sat New London, where the military leaders planned their strategies. Amy Foster received the final orders from General Ben Sullivan. All ships were to rise slowly and take positions around the alien fleet. The operation had been practiced thousands of times in simulations. Every commander knew exactly where to go and what to do. The aliens would be surrounded before they knew what was happening. The humans had built their ships using materials that the galaxy had never seen before. They discovered how to make metal that was stronger than diamond, but lighter than aluminum. They created energy sources that could power a city for a year. They developed weapons that could tear holes in space itself. Admiral Jake Harrison stood on his bridge looking down at Earth. The planet seemed peaceful and quiet. His scanner showed only normal ocean activity. A few whales swimming and some small fish schools moving around. He had no idea that 1 million warships were hiding just below his sensors. Commander Amy Foster gave the order to her crew. The massive hangar doors opened in the ocean floor beneath them. Water rushed in, but the ship's systems kept everything dry inside. Amy felt the ship begin to rise toward the surface for the first time in 5 years. Around her, thousands of other ships were doing the same thing. The underwater cities had been a complete secret for over 70 years. Not even the surface governments knew about them. Only a few thousand people on the surface knew the truth. Everyone else believed that humanity was still primitive and weak. This deception had been carefully maintained to fool any alien scouts who might visit Earth. Colonel Nancy Wright watched her instruments as the ocean around her began to change. The water temperature was rising as massive ships moved through the deep currents. Her surface ship's hidden sensors tracked every vessel as they climbed toward the light. Everything was going perfectly according to plan. General Ben Sullivan opened a channel to all underwater cities. His message was broadcast to every human living beneath the oceans. Today was the day they had all been waiting for. Today, humanity would show the galaxy what they were truly capable of achieving when they worked together toward a common goal. The alien ships continued to wait in their formations around Earth. Admiral Jake Harrison was becoming impatient. The 24 hours were almost over, and he wanted his answer from the humans. He decided to send a message demanding their immediate surrender. He thought this would frighten them into giving up without a fight. Amy Foster's ship broke through the ocean surface for the first time. The feeling was amazing after years of living underwater. Around her, hundreds of other ships were emerging from the depths. The alien fleet was still far above them, but Amy knew they would be detected soon. The human ships were not like anything the galaxy had ever built. They could travel underwater or through space with equal ease. They could become invisible to most scanning devices. They carried weapons that used principles of physics that alien scientists had never discovered. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering and determination. Admiral Jake Harrison's communication officer suddenly looked up with surprise. The man's face was pale as he stared at his instruments. Something was happening in the ocean below them. The water was moving in patterns that made no sense. Large objects were rising from the deep, and there were many of them. Commander Amy Foster smiled as she watched the alien fleet's reaction on her screens. Their ships were starting to move into defensive positions. They had finally detected something, but they did not understand what they were seeing. Soon they would learn that humanity had been hiding the greatest secret in galactic history right beneath their feet. Captain Tony Baker felt his ship break through the ocean's surface like a metal whale returning to breathe. The sensation was incredible after spending 3 years in the underwater hangars. Around him, the Pacific Ocean was alive with movement, as thousands of ships emerged from the depths. The sight was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Admiral Jake Harrison stared in shock at his display screens. His instruments were showing impossible readings. Thousands of objects were rising from Earth's oceans. Each object was larger than his biggest ships and moving with purpose and coordination. His hands shook as he realized what he was seeing. Commander Helen Price coordinated the emergence from her position in the Atlantic Ocean. Her screens showed ships rising from underwater bases along the entire coastline, from the Caribbean to the Arctic Circle. The ocean was giving birth to humanity's secret fleet. Each group of ships moved to predetermined positions around the alien formations. The human ships were beautiful in a way that alien technology could never match. They had smooth curves that flowed like water, but were made from materials stronger than anything in the galaxy. Their hulls seemed to absorb light, making them appear as dark shadows against the blue sky. No weapons were visible, but Admiral Jake Harrison knew they had to be armed. Vice Admiral Greg Stone commanded the largest group of ships rising from the Mariana Trench. His vessels had been built in the deepest factories on Earth, where the pressure was so great that special suits were needed just to survive. These ships were the newest and most advanced in the human fleet. They carried weapons that could crack planets if needed. The alien fleet tried to adjust their formations, but there were too many human ships appearing too quickly. Every time Admiral Jake Harrison's sensors found one group of ships, another group would appear somewhere else. The humans had planned this perfectly. They were surrounding the alien fleet from all directions. Captain Tony Baker opened a communication channel to the alien flagship. His message was simple and direct. The human fleet was now in position. The aliens could surrender peacefully or face the consequences of attacking Earth. Tony's voice was calm, but his words carried the weight of 1,000,000 ships behind them. The underwater cities had been building ships for over 50 years without stopping. Every year the fleet grew larger and more powerful. The humans had learned from every alien technology they could find. They studied captured weapons and improved on them. They took alien shield designs and made them stronger. Commander Helen Price watched as her ships took their positions in perfect formation. The human vessels moved with precision that amazed even their own crews. Every ship knew exactly where to go and when to stop. The coordination was the result of decades of training and preparation in the underwater academies. Admiral Jake Harrison tried to contact his home fleet for reinforcements, but the humans were jamming all communications. His ships were completely cut off from the rest of the galaxy. The human fleet had appeared so quickly that there was no time to send for help. He was alone with his 200 ships facing an enemy of unknown size and capability. The human ships began to demonstrate their advanced technology. Some vessels seemed to fade from view, becoming nearly invisible. Others created energy fields that bent light around them. A few ships appeared to split into multiple copies of themselves. The display was designed to show the aliens that humanity possessed technology beyond their understanding. Vice Admiral Greg Stone received permission to begin the demonstration phase. His ships activated their weapon systems for the first time in combat conditions. Beams of pure energy lanced out and struck empty areas of space. Where the beams hit the space itself seemed to crack and sparkle. The weapons were not aimed at the aliens, but the message was clear. Captain Tony Baker's ship moved closer to the alien flagship. His vessel was half the size of Admiral Jake Harrison's ship, but somehow seemed more threatening. The human ship's hull rippled with energy patterns that the aliens had never seen before. Unknown systems hummed with power that registered off the scale on alien sensors. The emergence was complete. Over 1 million human ships now surrounded the alien fleet in a perfect sphere formation. The ocean surface was calm again, but the sky was filled with vessels that defied everything the galaxy thought they knew about Earth's capabilities. Each ship represented years of human innovation and determination. Commander Helen Price sent a message to all human ships. The demonstration phase was ending. Now it was time to wait for the aliens to make their choice. Surrender and learn about humanity's peaceful intentions, or fight and discover why no alien force had ever successfully invaded a human-protected world. Admiral Jake Harrison looked at his tactical displays and felt fear for the first time in his career. His fleet was completely outnumbered and surrounded. The human ships were clearly more advanced than anything his people could build. His weapons seemed primitive compared to what he had just witnessed from the Earth fleet. The human ships maintained perfect silence as they waited. No threats were made, and no aggressive moves were taken. They simply existed in their formations like a million metal guardians protecting their home world. The message was clear without words. Earth was not defenseless, and humanity was not primitive. Vice Admiral Greg Stone monitored communications from the alien fleet. He could hear the panic in their voices as they realized the scope of what they faced. Some alien captains wanted to flee immediately. Others suggested trying to fight their way out. Admiral Jake Harrison was trying to maintain order, but his authority was cracking under the pressure. The underwater cities celebrated quietly as they watched their fleet take control of Earth's space. Families who had lived in the depths for generations finally saw their sacrifice and dedication pay off. The secret was revealed, and humanity stood ready to take its place among the stars as an equal rather than a victim. Lieutenant Karen Adams worked frantically at her communication station aboard Admiral Jake Harrison's flagship. Her instruments were picking up signals unlike anything she had ever encountered. The transmissions were coming from Earth, but using frequencies that should not have been possible with primitive human technology. The signals were incredibly complex and seemed to contain massive amounts of data. Admiral Jake Harrison paced his bridge while his officers tried to make sense of what they were seeing. His fleet was surrounded by over 1 million human ships that had appeared from nowhere. Each vessel was clearly more advanced than his own flagship. The tactical situation was hopeless, but he needed to understand how this was possible. President Alex Johnson sat in his office deep within New Atlantis preparing to address the galaxy. The office was carved from solid rock 3 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean. Behind his desk, a massive window showed the city's lights stretching into the distance. 50 million people lived here in the depths, waiting for this moment when humanity would reveal itself to the stars. The message that President Johnson was about to send would reach every inhabited world within 1,000 light years. Human communication technology could instantly transmit across vast distances using principles that alien scientists had never discovered. The galaxy would learn that Earth was not the primitive world they believed it to be. Lieutenant Karen Adams suddenly straightened at her station. An incoming transmission was being received on multiple frequencies simultaneously. The signal was so powerful that it overrode their communication systems and appeared on every screen throughout the alien fleet. Admiral Jake Harrison watched in amazement as President Johnson's face appeared before him. President Johnson began his speech with calm authority. He explained that humanity had been aware of galactic civilization for over 100 years. Earth had deliberately hidden its true capabilities while observing and learning from alien cultures. The underwater cities had been built as humanity's insurance policy against exactly this type of invasion. The president continued by revealing the scope of human achievement. New Atlantis was just one of dozens of underwater cities spread across Earth's oceans. Each city was a center of learning and technology that had solved problems the galaxy struggled with for centuries. Humanity had not just survived in the depths, but had thrived and grown stronger. Admiral Jake Harrison listened in growing amazement as President Johnson described human technological advances. Faster-than-light communication was just the beginning. Human scientists had learned to manipulate time itself on a small scale. They could create matter from pure energy and bend space to their will. The human fleet represented the most advanced military force in known galactic history. The transmission was being received across the galaxy by every major civilization. On distant worlds, alien leaders watched in shock as they learned the truth about Earth. The planet they had dismissed as backward and primitive was revealing technology that made their own achievements look primitive by comparison. President Johnson addressed Admiral Jake Harrison directly. He explained that humanity did not want war with the Galactic Council. Earth offered a choice between peaceful cooperation and continued conflict with a force that could not be defeated. The human fleet was demonstration enough of what would happen if the galaxy chose war over peace. Lieutenant Karen Adams reported that response signals were coming from across the galaxy. Every major alien government was demanding information about what they were seeing. The transmission was causing panic on some worlds and celebration on others. Smaller civilizations that had been oppressed by the Galactic Council saw hope for the first time in generations. The human ships around Admiral Jake Harrison's fleet began a carefully choreographed demonstration. Some vessels seemed to phase in and out of reality itself. Others created localized time distortion fields that made nearby space ripple like water. A few ships demonstrated their ability to open temporary wormholes in space. Admiral Jake Harrison realized he was witnessing technology that his people would need centuries to develop. The humans had not just hidden their capabilities, but had advanced far beyond what the galaxy thought was possible. Every assumption about Earth's primitive status had been completely wrong. President Johnson revealed that humanity had been preparing for this moment since 1924, when the first alien probe crashed on Earth. Generations of humans had dedicated their lives to building the underwater civilization. Children had been born and raised in the depths, knowing they might never see the surface, but understanding their vital role in protecting Earth. The president explained that human engineers had studied every piece of alien technology they could acquire. Crashed ships were recovered and analyzed in secret laboratories. Human scientists took alien discoveries and improved upon them using human creativity and determination. The result was technology that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever achieved. Lieutenant Karen Adams detected massive energy readings from the human fleet. The ships were powering up systems that her instruments could barely measure. The demonstration was showing the galaxy that humanity possessed weapons capable of destroying entire star systems if necessary. The message was clear without being threatening. Admiral Jake Harrison made his decision. He opened a direct communication channel to President Johnson and formally requested negotiations. His fleet was completely outmatched, and continuing to resist would only lead to unnecessary destruction. The Galactic Council would have to accept that humanity was now the dominant force in this region of space. President Johnson accepted the request for negotiations with dignity and respect. He understood that Admiral Jake Harrison was a professional doing his duty. The president offered safe passage for the alien fleet and promised that human forces would not take any aggressive action as long as the aliens remained peaceful. The galaxy watched in amazement as the most powerful military force they had ever encountered offered mercy and cooperation instead of conquest and domination. Humanity had revealed that they possessed the strength to rule the galaxy, but chose instead to seek partnership and mutual understanding. The underwater cities had produced more than just ships and weapons. They had created a civilization dedicated to protecting life rather than destroying it. Commander Steve Phillips piloted his diplomatic vessel toward Admiral Jake Harrison's flagship. His ship was smaller than the massive warships surrounding the alien fleet, but it carried the most important cargo in the galaxy. Steve represented humanity's offer of peace and cooperation to civilizations that had come to destroy Earth. The irony was not lost on him. Steve's ship was a marvel of human engineering designed specifically for diplomatic missions. The hull was made from materials that could withstand any known weapon, but appeared completely peaceful. Hidden inside were communication systems that could translate any galactic language instantly. The ship also carried gifts of human technology that would revolutionize alien civilization. Admiral Jake Harrison watched the human diplomatic ship approach with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Part of him still could not believe what had happened. His mighty fleet had been surrounded and outgunned by a species the galaxy considered primitive. Now he was about to negotiate with representatives of the most advanced civilization he had ever encountered. Dr. Patricia Hayes accompanied Commander Steve Phillips on the diplomatic mission. As Earth's chief expert on alien biology and culture, she had spent decades studying every species in the galaxy. Patricia had learned their languages, customs, and ways of thinking. She understood how to communicate with beings who had never imagined that humans could be their equals. The diplomatic ship docked with Admiral Jake Harrison's flagship using technology that amazed the alien crew. The human vessel seemed to flow like liquid metal as it connected with the alien ship. No damage was done to either vessel, and the connection was so perfect that air could flow freely between them. Commander Steve Phillips stepped aboard the alien flagship, wearing a simple uniform that displayed no weapons or threatening symbols. His calm demeanor and respectful attitude immediately put the alien crew at ease. Steve understood that these beings had been trained to see humans as enemies, but he would show them a different path. Dr. Patricia Hayes carried a small device that contained more information about human civilization than most aliens could process in a lifetime. The device held scientific discoveries that could cure diseases plaguing alien worlds. It contained engineering plans for technology that could solve energy crises and environmental problems across the galaxy. Admiral Jake Harrison met the human diplomats in his formal conference room. The chamber was designed to intimidate visitors with its massive size and impressive decorations, but Steve Phillips and Patricia Hayes seemed completely comfortable as they took their seats. Their confidence came from knowing that humanity held all the advantages in these negotiations. Patricia began the meeting by addressing each alien representative in their native language. She spoke with perfect pronunciation and used cultural references that showed deep understanding of their societies. The aliens were amazed that a human could know so much about their distant worlds and complex histories. Steve Phillips presented Admiral Jake Harrison with a formal proposal from President Johnson. Humanity was offering to share its advanced technology with any civilization willing to join a new galactic alliance based on cooperation rather than domination. The benefits would be enormous, but the choice had to be made freely. The proposal included plans for faster-than-light travel that was safer and more efficient than anything currently available. Human scientists had solved the energy problems that limited alien space exploration. They had developed methods for terraforming dead worlds and techniques for extending the lifespan of any species. Dr. Patricia Hayes explained that humanity's underwater cities had become centers of learning where the greatest minds from Earth worked together. These facilities could be open to alien students who wanted to learn human scientific methods. The knowledge sharing would benefit both humans and aliens in ways that neither could achieve alone. Admiral Jake Harrison asked the obvious question. Why was humanity offering to share such valuable technology instead of using it to conquer the galaxy? Steve Phillips answered simply that humans had learned from studying alien history. Every galactic empire that tried to rule through force eventually collapsed. Cooperation was stronger than conquest. The human diplomats revealed that Earth's underwater civilization had been watching galactic politics for decades. They had seen how the Galactic Council's aggressive expansion created fear and resentment among smaller species. Humanity wanted to build something better based on mutual respect and shared benefits. Patricia showed the aliens examples of human artwork and music created in the underwater cities. The creativity and beauty moved even the most hardened military officers. These were not the products of a warrior culture, but of a civilization dedicated to learning growth and peaceful development. Steve Phillips offered Admiral Jake Harrison the chance to visit New Atlantis and see the underwater cities for himself. The Admiral would be treated as an honored guest rather than a defeated enemy. He could meet with human scientists and engineers to discuss the possibilities of galactic cooperation. The negotiations continued for several hours as details were worked out. The human fleet maintained its positions around the alien ships, but made no threatening moves. The message was clear that humanity preferred peace, but was prepared for any alternative the aliens might choose. Admiral Jake Harrison finally accepted the human proposal and agreed to return to the Galactic Council with humanity's offer. He realized that his mission had completely changed. Instead of conquering Earth, he would be recommending that the galaxy accept human leadership in creating a new and better form of galactic government. Dr. Patricia Hayes provided Admiral Jake Harrison with communication devices that would allow him to stay in contact with Earth during his journey home. The devices used human quantum entanglement technology that made messages instantaneous across any distance. The galaxy would soon learn that humanity had solved problems that alien scientists thought were impossible. Commander Steve Phillips escorted Admiral Jake Harrison back to his ship with full military honors. The ceremony demonstrated human respect for a worthy opponent who had chosen wisdom over pride. The galaxy would remember this moment as the beginning of a new era of peace and cooperation among the stars. Captain Sandra White commanded the escort formation as Admiral Jake Harrison's fleet prepared to leave Earth's solar system. Her ships would accompany the aliens partway home to ensure their safe passage and demonstrate human goodwill. Sandra had volunteered for this mission because she understood how important first impressions would be for galactic relations. The alien fleet looked small and vulnerable, surrounded by thousands of human vessels. Admiral Jake Harrison had requested permission to take detailed scans of the human ships during their journey. He wanted to study their technology and report back to the Galactic Council about humanity's true capabilities. Dr. Patricia Hayes remained aboard Admiral Jake Harrison's flagship as a cultural advisor during the journey. She would help the Admiral understand human society and prepare his report for the Galactic Council. Patricia carried additional gifts of human technology that could demonstrate the benefits of cooperation with Earth. Back on Earth, President Johnson addressed the underwater cities from his office in New Atlantis. The revelation had been successful, and humanity was now recognized as a major galactic power. But this was just the beginning of a much larger plan that had been decades in the making. The surface governments of Earth were finally being told the truth about the underwater cities. Presidents and prime ministers around the world received classified briefings about humanity's secret civilization. Many were shocked to learn that millions of their citizens had been living beneath the oceans for generations. Admiral Frank Carter commanded the human fleet as it maintained position around Earth. With Admiral Jake Harrison's ships departing, there was no immediate threat, but Frank knew that other alien forces might attempt to test humanity's defenses. The million-ship fleet was prepared for any challenge. Captain Sandra White opened secure communication channels with Admiral Jake Harrison as their combined fleet traveled toward the edge of the solar system. She shared information about human, space travel technology and demonstrated the advanced navigation systems that made faster-than-light travel safer and more accurate. The human ships escorting the alien fleet were equipped with the latest defensive systems. Energy shields that could stop any known weapon surrounded each vessel. The shields used principles of physics that alien scientists had never discovered. They could absorb weapon energy and convert it into power for the ship's systems. Dr. Patricia Hayes worked with Admiral Jake Harrison to prepare his presentation for the Galactic Council. She helped him understand the scope of human achievement and the benefits that cooperation could bring to every species in the galaxy. The presentation would determine whether the galaxy chose peace or war with humanity. On distant worlds across the galaxy, alien governments were receiving reports about the events at Earth. Some civilizations were frightened by humanity's sudden revelation of power. Others were excited about the possibility of gaining access to advanced human technology. The galaxy was dividing into those who wanted cooperation and those who preferred confrontation. President Johnson received reports from human intelligence, networks that had been secretly monitoring galactic communications for decades. Several aggressive alien species were already planning military expeditions to test Earth's defenses. Humanity would need to be ready for multiple challenges in the coming months. Captain Sandra White demonstrated human weapons technology by targeting empty asteroids near the edge of the solar system. The weapons created controlled explosions that vaporized solid rock instantly. The display showed Admiral Jake Harrison that human ships could destroy entire planets if necessary, but were being used with careful restraint. The escort mission proceeded smoothly as both human and alien crews worked together during the journey. Cultural exchange programs allowed alien officers to visit human ships and learn about underwater civilization. Human officers studied alien technology and shared insights that could benefit both species. Dr. Patricia Hayes arranged for Admiral Jake Harrison to witness a demonstration of human manufacturing capabilities. A small human ship used matter conversion, technology to build a complete communication device from raw materials in space. The process took only minutes and created technology more advanced than anything in the alien fleet. Admiral Frank Carter received new intelligence about alien military movements near Earth. 3 different species were sending scout ships to observe human defenses. Frank ordered increased patrols around the solar system and positioned his fastest ships to intercept any unauthorized vessels. The human escort ships began demonstrating their ability to phase between normal space and an alternate dimension that humans called hyperspace. The technology allowed instant travel across vast distances without the dangerous energy requirements of traditional faster-than-light drives. Admiral Jake Harrison realized that humans could deploy their fleet anywhere in the galaxy within hours. Captain Sandra White shared information about Earth's defensive networks with Admiral Jake Harrison. The planet was protected by orbital platforms that could appear to be destroyed but were actually hidden in hyperspace. Any attacking force would face weapons that could strike from dimensions they could not detect or defend against. President Johnson announced to the underwater cities that Phase 2 of the Revelation Plan was beginning. Human ships would begin visiting other worlds to establish diplomatic contact with species that had been oppressed by the Galactic Council. Earth would offer protection and technology to any civilization willing to join the new alliance. Dr. Patricia Hayes provided Admiral Jake Harrison with detailed plans for improving alien medical technology using human scientific discoveries. The plans could eliminate diseases that had plagued alien worlds for centuries and extend lifespans across multiple species. The gifts demonstrated that humanity wanted to be a force for healing rather than destruction. The escort mission neared its end as Admiral Jake Harrison's fleet approached the boundary of human-controlled space. Captain Sandra White wished the Admiral success in his mission and promised that humanity would be waiting for the Galactic Council's response. The galaxy now had to choose between cooperation with Earth or conflict with the most advanced military force in known history. Admiral Jake Harrison thanked Captain Sandra White and Dr. Patricia Hayes for their hospitality and respect during the journey. He had learned that humans were not conquerors seeking to dominate other species, but partners hoping to build a better future for all galactic civilizations. His report would recommend full cooperation with humanity's proposals for galactic peace. Admiral Jake Harrison arrived at the Galactic Council headquarters on Zentara Prime with his mind full of everything he had witnessed at Earth. The massive space station orbited a dead world that had been strip-mined for resources centuries ago. The irony was not lost on him that the Council met above a planet they had destroyed through their own aggressive policies. Council Chairman Vex Alderaan waited in the Great Assembly Hall with representatives from 200 alien species. The chairman had built his power by convincing other species that aggressive expansion was necessary for survival. Now he faced a report that would challenge everything the Galactic Council believed about warfare and diplomacy. Admiral Jake Harrison entered the assembly hall carrying data crystals that contained detailed scans of human technology. The information would prove that everything he was about to report was true. Some council members would refuse to believe what they heard, but the evidence would be undeniable. The presentation began with Admiral Jake Harrison's description of arriving at Earth expecting to find a primitive world. He explained how his fleet had been completely surprised by the emergence of over 1 million advanced warships from beneath Earth's oceans. The council chamber fell silent as representatives realized the implications. Chairman Vex Alderaan interrupted the presentation to demand proof of these extraordinary claims. Admiral Jake Harrison activated the holographic display system and showed detailed recordings of the human fleet emergence. Council members gasped as they watched ships rise from the depths using technology they had never seen before. The recordings continued with demonstrations of human weapons that could manipulate space and time itself. Energy beams that created cracks in reality struck empty areas of space to show their power without threatening the alien fleet. Ships phased in and out of alternate dimensions while others created localized time distortion fields. Representative Kira Thane, from the Centauri Federation, stood to address the council. Her people had been among the most aggressive supporters of the invasion plan. Now she demanded to know how the intelligence services had failed so completely to detect Earth's true capabilities. The failure represented a massive threat to galactic security. Admiral Jake Harrison continued his report by describing his negotiations with human diplomats aboard his flagship. Commander Steve Phillips and Dr. Patricia Hayes had demonstrated knowledge of galactic cultures that surpassed even the Council's own experts. The humans had been studying alien civilizations for over a century. The data crystals contained examples of human technology that could revolutionize galactic civilization, faster than light communication that was instantaneous across any distance, medical treatments that could cure diseases plaguing multiple species, energy sources that could power entire worlds without environmental damage. Chairman Vex Alderaan realized that his position was in serious danger. The aggressive policies he had promoted were now revealed to be not just wrong, but potentially suicidal. If humanity chose to respond with force, the Galactic Council's fleets would be completely outmatched by Earth's advanced technology. Representative Drac Morvain from the warrior clans proposed an immediate military response to the human threat. He argued that allowing one species to possess such advanced technology upset the balance of galactic power. His speech was interrupted by Admiral Jake Harrison, who explained that any attack on Earth would result in the complete destruction of the attacking force. The council chamber erupted in heated debate as representatives struggled to understand how their fundamental assumptions about galactic civilization had been proven wrong. Some species called for immediate surrender to human authority. Others demanded continued resistance despite the hopeless tactical situation. Admiral Jake Harrison presented President Johnson's formal offer of cooperation and alliance. Humanity was willing to share their advanced technology with any species that agreed to join a new galactic government based on mutual respect rather than domination. The benefits would be enormous, but the choice had to be made freely. Representative Yara Kestrel from the Science Coalition analyzed the human technology samples and confirmed that they represented advances far beyond current galactic capabilities. Her preliminary studies suggested that human scientific methods could solve problems that had challenged alien researchers for millennia. Chairman Vex Aldaran attempted to maintain his authority by proposing a military alliance against the human threat. His speech was met with silence as council members realized that such an alliance would be meaningless against Earth's overwhelming technological superiority. Several representatives began leaving the chamber to contact their home governments. The debate continued for hours as the council struggled to reach a consensus. Admiral Jake Harrison patiently answered questions and provided additional evidence of human capabilities. He emphasized that humanity preferred cooperation, but was prepared for any alternative the galaxy might choose. Representative Zane Cortex from the Trade Federation pointed out that human technology could solve the resource shortages that plagued many worlds. Matter conversion systems could create any needed materials from basic elements. Agricultural advances could feed populations that were currently starving. The voting began as individual species declared their positions on humanity's offer of alliance. Smaller civilizations that had been oppressed by the Galactic Council voted overwhelmingly in favor of cooperation with Earth. They saw human protection as their chance for freedom from Council domination. Chairman Vex Aldaran watched his political coalition collapse as more species voted to accept human leadership. The aggressive expansion policies that had built his power were now seen as dangerous mistakes that had nearly led to galactic war with a superior civilization. Admiral Jake Harrison concluded his presentation by reading a personal message from President Johnson. Humanity understood that changing established galactic policies would take time. Earth was willing to be patient and work with any species that genuinely wanted peace and cooperation. The choice belonged to each civilization individually. The final vote was overwhelming in favor of accepting humanity's offer of alliance. Only a few aggressive species voted to continue resistance, but they were vastly outnumbered. The Galactic Council, as it had existed for centuries, was effectively dissolved and replaced with a new government based on human principles of cooperation and mutual respect. Representative Kira Thane was elected as the new council chairman with a mandate to negotiate the details of the alliance with Earth. Her first act was to send an official message to President Johnson, accepting humanity's offer and requesting immediate assistance with the transition to peaceful galactic government. Admiral Jake Harrison stood in the New Atlantis observation deck, looking out at the underwater city that had changed galactic history. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council had voted to accept humanity's alliance offer. Jake now served as Earth's primary liaison to the galaxy, helping coordinate the peaceful transition to the new government. The underwater city stretched for miles in every direction, with towers and domes connected by transparent tunnels. 50 million humans lived and worked here in the depths of the Pacific Ocean. Jake had learned that New Atlantis was just one of dozens of similar cities hidden beneath Earth's waters. The scale of human achievement was still difficult to comprehend. President Johnson welcomed delegations from across the galaxy in his office carved from solid rock 3 miles below the ocean surface. Representatives from 200 species had come to Earth to see the underwater civilization with their own eyes. Many were still struggling to believe that such an advanced society had remained hidden for so long. Dr. Patricia Hayes led tours through the scientific districts, where human researchers worked alongside alien visitors to share knowledge and develop new technologies. The cooperation was producing breakthroughs at an unprecedented rate. Diseases that had plagued alien worlds for centuries were being cured using human medical techniques. Captain Sandra White commanded the orbital platforms that protected Earth's atmosphere. The defensive systems had been revealed to visiting alien delegations as a demonstration of human military capability. The platforms could appear to be destroyed, but were actually hidden in hyperspace dimensions that most species could not detect. The galactic economy was being revolutionized by human technology transfers. Matter conversion systems allowed dead worlds to be transformed into garden paradises. Energy sources based on controlled fusion reactions provided unlimited clean power to civilizations that had been struggling with resource shortages for generations. Commander Steve Phillips established the new Galactic Defense Force headquarters in orbit around Earth. The organization included ships and crews from every allied species, but used human technology and tactical doctrines. The force existed to protect peaceful worlds from any remaining aggressive civilizations. Some species had refused to join the alliance and continued to threaten their neighbors with military force. Admiral Jake Harrison coordinated responses to these threats using human ships that could appear anywhere in the galaxy within hours. The aggressive species quickly learned that attacking alliance members brought swift and overwhelming retaliation. The underwater cities opened their educational facilities to students from across the galaxy. Young beings from hundreds of different species came to Earth to study human scientific methods and engineering techniques. They would return to their home worlds carrying knowledge that would benefit their entire civilizations. President Johnson announced the next phase of humanity's plan during a broadcast that reached every inhabited world in the galaxy. Earth would begin sharing the secrets of faster-than-light communication and hyperspace travel. The technologies would unite the galaxy in ways that had never been possible before. Trade routes that had taken months to traverse could now be covered in days, using human navigation systems. Communication that had required weeks of travel time became instantaneous, using quantum entanglement networks. The galaxy was becoming more connected and cooperative than ever before in its history. Dr. Patricia Hayes established cultural exchange, programs that allowed different species to learn about each other's histories and traditions. The programs were designed to prevent the misunderstandings and prejudices that had led to centuries of galactic conflict. Art, music, and literature were shared between worlds that had never communicated before. Admiral Jake Harrison received reports that the remaining aggressive species were beginning to reconsider their positions. The benefits of alliance membership were becoming too obvious to ignore. Worlds that joined the alliance experienced rapid improvements in technology, healthcare, and quality of life for their populations. The Galactic Defense Force conducted its first major operation when the Kaltor Empire attempted to invade 3 peaceful worlds simultaneously. Commander Steve Phillips led a response force that arrived within hours and disabled the invasion fleets without causing unnecessary casualties. The demonstration convinced many remaining holdout species to request alliance membership. Captain Sandra White oversaw the construction of new orbital platforms around allied worlds using human technology and alien labor. The platforms served as both defensive installations and manufacturing centers that could produce anything needed by local populations. Self-sufficiency became possible for civilizations that had struggled with resource limitations. The success of the alliance encouraged President Johnson to reveal the final phase of humanity's long-term plan. Earth would share the technology for building underwater cities on other worlds. Species could create their own hidden civilizations that would be safe from any future threats that might emerge from unknown regions of the galaxy. Admiral Jake Harrison reflected on how completely the galaxy had changed in just a few months. The aggressive expansion and resource competition that had defined galactic politics for centuries had been replaced by cooperation and mutual assistance. Humanity had used their secret fleet not to conquer, but to unite the galaxy in peace. The underwater cities continued their work of scientific research and technological development, with help from the brightest minds of hundreds of species. New discoveries were being made every day that would benefit all members of the Alliance. The combination of human innovation and alien knowledge was producing achievements that neither could have reached alone. Dr. Patricia Hayes published her comprehensive study of galactic civilizations that had been based on over a century of secret observation. The work became the foundation for new diplomatic protocols that respected the unique qualities of each species while promoting cooperation toward common goals. President Johnson signed the formal treaty that established the Galactic Alliance as the official government of civilized space. The document was endorsed by over 90% of known species and created a framework for peaceful expansion into unexplored regions of the galaxy. Humanity had achieved its goal of protecting Earth while building a better future for all. Galactic civilizations. The million-ship fleet that had emerged from Earth's oceans became the symbol of a new era in galactic history. The vessels now served as protectors and explorers, rather than weapons of war. They carried the Alliance banner to distant stars and welcomed new species into the growing community of peaceful worlds. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology, but their vision of what civilization could become when guided by wisdom rather than fear.